to continue with the 7th chapter of Many Waters. Denny's has been riding back to Sandy on the back of a Seraphim in the form of a camel. They were attacked by a manticore. The camel had to turn back into a regular Seraphim, and they are walking to Lamech's tent. And we'll pick up at the page break. The circle of the Nephilim was dark against the desert, a dark shot with flames brighter than those from the mountain as they flickered in and out of their animal hosts in a show of power. They spoke from their Nephil forms in bursts of primal energy, reverting in negative lightning to their animal hosts and bursting with bright wings again in order to speak. The crocodile opened its enormous jaws, then lifted green wings as it stretched skyward. "What are they doing here?" "What are they?" Pewter wings faded like smoke, and a rat's tail swished back and forth over the sand. There was a sulphurous smell as a Nephilim flicked in and out, charging in the air. "Not true giants." Red wings and hair flamed in the hot wind, and then a mosquito whined shrilly. "Not one of us." Purple wings misted, and the dragon lizard stretched its useless wings. "Though they speak the ancient tongue, they burn in the sun. They can't change form, young, infants. Almost men, though. They don't belong here." What to do with them? Bronze wings dissolved and shrank with a tearing sound as the cockroach lifted its armored wings. "Do we let them live?" Great granite wings dimmed, the clouds dropped with a sharp crack, and the red ant's small body cast a dark shadow in the starlight. Flicker, flame, shadow, in and out in prideful bursts of energy. Moaned the Nephil, who is the cobra. "Maybe we promise them that they will live." The vulture appeared briefly and clicked its beak. Then dark wings shadowed the stars. "Power. Put them in our power." Yellow wings puffed into sulfur, and the flea leapt from the dragon lizard to the vulture, then raised wings high. "Power, that's right." "Temptation," the dragon lizard Neville suggested. "Temptation, good," and the mosquito droned. "Lust," suggested the cobra, and the Nephil's face was whiter than the sand. Lust," agreed the vulture. Lust. "We'll sleep together in the heat of the day." The reunited Sandy and Dennis sat outside Grandfather Lamech's tent as the stars wheeled across the sky. The old man had gone in after having sat outside with them to eat a fresh mess of pottage and to prepare bowls of fig juice. Higgaion was curled in the star shade of the tree, his flanks heaving in and out as he slept, occasionally twitching in dreams. "Noah and Matrid have a mammoth called Selith," Denny said. "Usually she sleeps by Yalith's sleeping skins, but sometimes she came into my tent and slept with me. It was weird being without you." Denny's wiggled his bare toes in the sand. "Yeah," Sandy agreed. "It was weird for me, too. Higgy and Grandfather Lamech have been very good to me." He wanted to ask about Yalith, but something stayed his tongue. He said instead, "I love Grandfather Lamech. You will, too." "He seems okay," Denny's agreed. "I'm glad Japheth was the first person we saw. Otherwise, I'd suspect everybody of being like those awful people who threw me out of their tent into the town dump." "It sounds rough." "Well, everybody in Noah's tent hold was wonderful to me." "Denny's?" Sandy's was suddenly somber. "Do you remember the story of Noah and the ark?" Denny shifted uncomfortably. "The story we got blown into. At first, I thought we were in some way-out solar system." "It might be easier if we were," Sandy said. "Grandfather Lamech sent me into town today to trade fruit for lentils. I passed a lot of people. They're all going to be drowned." Denny's looked at the glow of the volcano on the horizon. "I know, everybody except Noah and Matrid, Shem and Elisheba, Ham and Anna, Japheth and Oholibama." Now Sandy's voice cracked. "What about Yalith?" Denny's managed to keep his voice from soaring. "I don't know, but I don't think Oholibama, Elisheba, or Anna are called by name in the story. Matrid isn't either." His voice jumped an octave. "Nor Yalith!" At least as far as I can remember. I wish we had a Bible. It was a very patriarchal society, Sandy said. I do remember that. Meg would have called it chauvinistic, Denny said. Whoever wrote the Bible was a man. Men. I thought it was supposed to be God. Wasn't that what we were taught in Sunday school? When we were little, maybe. The thing is, the Bible was set down by a lot of people over lots of years, centuries. It's supposed to be the Word of God, not written by God. Okay, Sandy said, but nobody ever mentioned that there were twins named Sandy and Denny's Murray with Noah and his family. Do you have any idea? Denny's ventured when the rains are supposed to start. Sandy shook his head. No, I don't. And I don't know how we're going to get out of here and go home, do you? I thought you might have thought of something to do, Denny said. I don't have a clue. You pay more attention than I do. When everybody goes on at the dinner table about tessering and red shifts and mitochondria and pharanguli and stuff. Mitochondria. Denny's looked at his twin. Do you remember when something was wrong with Charles Wallace's mitochondria and we thought he was going to die? We went out to the vegetable garden, Sandy said, because we had to do something, even though we knew it didn't have anything to do with helping Charles Wallace get well. But it was something to do. They were silent for a dark space. Then Sandy said, well, we can do it again. Work in a garden. Grandfather Lamech has this huge vegetable garden. I mean, you've never seen such gigantic plants and weeds. I've pulled up a mountain of weeds, wait and see, and I've hardly made a dent. And then there are his groves of prune and water. There's plenty to do, whether it helps anything or not. Under them the ground trembled slightly, but by now they were both so used to the shifting and sliding of the young planet that they hardly noticed. Well, that's good, the garden, I mean. As long as we don't get sunstroke again. Oh, we work only in the early morning and the evenings. Grandfather Lamech is very careful about that. Good then. Yes, but none of that gets us home. What do we do now? Sandy was asking himself rather than his twin. I think, Denny spoke slowly, that we don't do anything. I mean, this is way outside our experience. Outside anybody's experience, Sandy added. I think you're right. We wait, with our eyes and ears open. He looked over to where Higgaion was sleeping. The scarab was not in its usual place, on Higgaion's ear. Therefore, he thought, Admiral must be somewhere else. Doing what? We wait, Admiral said. To do anything is to make changes, to cause a paradox. Does not their very being here in itself constitute a paradox? Olarid, who was sometimes a pelican, asked. Admail, who had carried Denny's across the desert, said, They have already made changes. The boy, Denny's, caused Noah to reconcile with his father when it seemed that nothing would ever make that come about. At Nachiel, his wings as sunny as the hide of his giraffe host, said, Perhaps the boy Sandy played a part. Alabiel, with wings as white as those of a snow goose, asked, Could they have been sent for this? Ariel, tawny as a lion, said softly, We do not know. Perhaps they are part of the pattern. Abdiel, sometimes a golden bat, spoke equally softly. There are many things that even the angels in heaven do not know, and we have been chosen. Abastarhon, whose host was a golden snake, corrected. Accepted being chosen. Acatriel, whose eyes were as round and wise and fierce as an owl's, corrected further. To stay with the children of humankind, Abdiel continued. Therefore, we have relinquished some of our powers, and there is much that we do not know. Abuzahor, who was sometimes a white leopard, inclined his head, his face luminous as the moon. As long as the One knows, there is no need for us to know. Aksa, with wings and hair, the soft gray velvet of his mouse host, nodded. They are innocent boys for the children of men, likable, and they speak the old language. Abdiel, orange wings vivid as the tiger, agreed. Good in their hearts, and they brought out Noah's goodness. Could that be part of the plan? Admiel said, We still have no real idea why they are here, or how they are to be returned to wherever it is they come from. At Noxiel, sometimes a giraffe looked up at the stars. We willingly gave up some of our powers when we chose to stay on this planet. We do not have to stay. Abdiel's seraphim wings were as bright as gold. Were as bright a gold as his bat ones. We are free to leave at any time and resume our full powers. Admiral threw off light like the sun flashing against the scarab beetle. It was our free choice, and now I would not leave while they, the twins, are still here. We may not be able to save them, Alarid warned. Then I will stay with them, Admiel said, for a fraction of a second looking more like a white camel than like a seraphim. 11 luminous heads slowly nodded in agreement with Admiel. And that is the end of Chapter 7.